Okay, let's dive straight into this. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to absolutely dismantle a feeling you've probably had sitting at your kitchen table at some point. You know, that quiet, nagging anxiety that you are somehow falling behind everyone else? Well, today, by looking directly at the data from our sources, we are going to discover that the standard you're measuring yourself against is actually a complete illusion. Here's our roadmap to shattering these illusions today. We're going to cover the average wealth trap, financing the fake rich, the housing math illusion, why boring is true wealth, and finally, escaping the illusion. All right, let's jump right into part one, the average wealth trap and the illusion of the mean. So when I looked at the numbers for this one right here immediately stood out. According to recent data pulled from literally millions of real accounts, the average American retirement account balance is around $167,000. Now, when you see a number like that in a headline and you look at your own account, it's incredibly easy to just fold up your statement, shove it in a drawer, and assume you're failing. But it turns out this number is a total statistical trap. Because here is the mathematical punchline: $44,000. This is the median retirement balance for the exact same data set. The median is the person standing dead center in a line of all Americans. Half have more, half have less. This right here is the actual on-the-ground reality of the middle class. To really understand why this happens, let's meet Desmond and Gerald. Now, Desmond has $44,000. He represents the true middle. Gerald, on the other hand, is an orthodontist with $2.1 million. When we calculate the mean average, Gerald's massive outlier wealth drags the number all the way up to $167,000. Desmond isn't actually behind it all, he's just being quietly measured against a statistical ghost named Gerald. Basically, you've been given a ruler that was built crooked on purpose. Which brings us to part two, financing the fake rich and the debt trap. If the real middle class only has $44,000 saved up, how on earth is everyone seemingly driving a brand new car? Well, our sources highlight a perfectly engineered trap we call the debt lasagna. Watch how this builds. It's crazy. Someone takes negative equity from an old car loan, they roll it into a brand new car loan at a punishing 25% APR, and then, to top it off, they put the down payment on a credit card. That is 3 compounding layers of toxic debt just to maintain the image of being wealthy. There's this quote from the source material that is just incredibly revealing. Someone literally says, "I tap that card like I've already got the money in my account." This perfectly captures psychology of the fake rich. They're spending the salary of their imaginary future selves today, at today's high interest rates. Every single dollar of debt you take on is just future income you have already spent. And here is the truly sobering reality beneath all that flashy spending. 37% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency in cash. And a $400 expense? That isn't a life-altering crisis. It's a basic life hurdle. It's a set of brake pads. It's a broken water heater. But because they lack this cash buffer, these basic hurdles end up financed on 25% credit cards out of sheer necessity. It traps them in these minimum payment cycles that mathematically prevent them from building any real wealth. Okay, moving to part 3. The housing math illusion, buying versus renting. Let's look at this comparison between Brian, who buys, and Rachel, who rents. So Brian has a $2,360 mortgage. He feels great about it. But Brian is also paying property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. These are invisible, totally unrecoverable costs that push his true monthly spend closer to $3,400. Rachel, meanwhile, rents the exact same house for $2,000. Here's the absolute secret we discovered in the data. Rachel takes that $1,400 difference and aggressively invests it in index funds. Over decades, Rachel builds just as much, if not more, wealth than Brian, and she never had to fix a leaky roof. Renting mathematically wins, but only if you actually invest the difference. Now, what's really interesting about this is we can apply that exact same logic to your car. Right now, the average payment on a new vehicle is roughly $770 a month. If you took that $770 and invested it at an 8% return over an entire working career, it compounds to $2.4 million. The average person isn't too poor to be a millionaire. They are just choosing to finance a depreciating asset instead of buying an appreciating one. To empower you right now, here's a super simple mathematical tool you can use to determine if renting or buying makes sense in your specific zip code. It's called the 5% rule. Take the total price of a home, multiply it by 5%, and then divide by 12. That number is the true, unrecoverable monthly cost of owning that home. We're talking taxes, upkeep, and the cost of capital. If you can rent the same place for less than that number, renting mathematically wins out. Let's move to part 4, boring is true wealth, flashy versus boring. Let's contrast two business owners from our sources to really drive this home. First, we have Karan. He opens this flashy, super Instagram-friendly cafe. It looks amazing online, but years later, he's totally exhausted, always working, just waiting for one-off customers to walk through the door. Mahesh, on the other hand, starts a boring B2B business. Think something like a commercial cleaning service. There's no ribbon cutting, literally zero social media hype. But Mahesh is on vacation, and his business is generating automated freedom because his clients are locked into monthly contracts. See, Mahesh is utilizing what's called the recurring revenue engine. The steps are beautifully simple. 1, find a completely boring problem like office cleaning, laundry, or software needs. 2, secure B2B contracts instead of endlessly chasing daily consumers. And 3, collect automated monthly income. You aren't constantly searching for the next sale. You provide a reliable service and build a solid infrastructure of recurring cash flow. So to summarize this core lesson, true wealth is invisible and fake wealth is loud. Those luxury apartments, the finance trucks, the expensive clothes, those are usually just liabilities that keep people trapped on a treadmill. Real wealth is the boring index fund, quietly compounding in the background, or that invisible business contract paying you every single month while you sleep.
Finally, part 5, escaping the illusion and breaking the cycle.
Okay, check this out. If you strip out home equity, because let's be honest, you can't buy groceries with your kitchen countertops, the median American household net worth collapses to roughly $57,900. That is the actual financial cushion the middle of the country has. If you have been feeling behind, look at this number and realize you have been measuring yourself against a complete fantasy. You are doing just fine. So the crucial point here is how you actually break this cycle. And spoiler alert, it is not about willpower. It's about changing your default systems. Automate your index fund investments so the money leaves your account before you can even think about spending it. Maximize your employer match because that is literally free money. Opt into automated savings increases. And above all else, completely ignore those mean averages when comparing your success. Build your wealth invisibly. And that leads us to our final thought for this explainer. You aren't falling behind, you are just using the wrong numbers to measure your life. Once you automate your true wealth and firmly step off that treadmill of financing the fake rich, the math just takes care of itself. So I'll leave you with this question. If your future was completely funded and you never had to be afraid of money again, what would you do on Monday?